Okay, so thank you for being here. We wanted to have someone from the European Commission, but they were not available in the end. But we can still talk a bit also about the European aspect of things. The idea of this roundtable, this workshop, let's say, is that we want to work on what we can actually do as a French embassy, and I'm also representing the Ministry for Higher Education and Research in France. So to talk to you a bit about what exists in France, about the ecosystem of, let's say, very public funding of research and innovation. We have with us Georges Caridakis from the Hellenic Foundation for Research and Innovation, and Bpifrance, who you perhaps know is a public, Banque Publique d'Investissement, public investment bank, and does a lot of financing of research and innovation. So since I'm a participant and moderator, I will not attribute myself the speech, and I would like perhaps to hear first from you, Georges, about basically what is done in Greece, what interesting things are done, and especially in the framework of what Vice Minister or Deputy Minister Papaioannou said this morning, in view of the future creation or recreation, should we say, of the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. It was together some years ago, and I think it's put together with innovation for the first time, projected in 2027. So I think it's particularly interesting that you tell us about that, about your job at ELIDEK, so as to better understand the Greek ecosystem of public funding of research and innovation.
Now it does. Okay, so good morning, and thank you for the invitation, the cordial invitation, and thank you for the initiative, mainly because these activities are really fruitful and discussion on what has happened, evaluating, planning, etc. So the HFRI, Hellenic Foundation for Research and Innovation, ELIDEK, Ελληνικό Ίδρυμα Έρευνας και Καινοτομίας. I've been there the director for 2 weeks, so I'm relatively new. But I've been in the General Assembly for more than 2 years, so I know the ecosystem. I'm a professor at the University of the Aegean, so I know the research and innovation ecosystem from a really young age. So the HFRI has been established in 2016, now celebrating 10 years, with the model of the kind of a national ERC or NSF, depending on the approach. And its mandate is to support research excellence and innovation. We've been funding PhD scholarships, postdocs, projects, research projects from tenure track, early stage academics, faculty members, research infrastructure and equipment, and some emblematic flagship projects also regarding humanities, which was mentioned by Rector Koulouri yesterday. And she's also part of a group that is developing the study for the new ministry. So she would know more about this, but I've been asking around. Our funding comes from mainly the European Investment Bank and the Public Investment Program. And so the first loan from the EIB has almost ended. And last week, along with the new ministry, the second memorandum and loan with the EIB is upcoming. So lots of planning to do and how we not use this money, like invest. I would like to use the at least 2026, 2030, my term as a director the goal is to invest the funds in order to produce and have a meaningful impact in many aspects rather than funding. So regarding the new ministry, at least to my knowledge, there wasn't one, but entities, also like ELIDEK, are moving around between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Development. So we were established actually within the Ministry of Education, and after like 2 or 3 years, we moved to the Ministry of Development. So things are moving around between these two ministries, and I think this is a milestone for the research and innovation ecosystem and framework, having its own ministry, its own funds, its own strategic planning, etc. So we are also very eager, and HFRI will be a pillar and a pivotal point at this in this ministry upcoming. We'll see how this forms. So I don't know if I'm hogging the time. I'm not watching, but thank you again. And with the motto Ελλάδα-Γαλλία συμμαχία στην έρευνα και στην καινοτομία. I just thought about this, so thank you.
Very good. Antoine, perhaps you can tell us more about the work of BPI with a focus on what you do to help finance, publicly finance ecosystem, and what you see, because you also know a bit the ecosystem in Greece, and so perhaps what has been done by BPI in France that could be perhaps done in Greece. I know that you work also with the Hellenic Development Bank, who could not be here today, but so what is your perspective also on the Greek ecosystem as you know it?
All right, thanks, Matthieu. Well, on the first question about Bpifrance, so Bpifrance, you said it is the French Public Investment Bank. Sorry. The peculiarity of Bpifrance as a public entity is that it's trying to do everything. Being an innovation agency, being a sovereign fund, being a national promotional bank. In order to create, actually I have a slide, I don't know if it can appear, but in any case, in order to create what we call the Bpifrance Continuum, which is support going from promoting entrepreneurship in universities, in schools, in even rural areas. There's a Bpifrance bus going to rural areas, going to the neighborhoods that historically have less professional or educational opportunities. So it goes from really promoting entrepreneurship to giving non-guaranteed loans to very early startups and companies, whether it's SMEs or startups, to investing in them when they're a bit bigger, to providing them with loans when they become big companies, and finally actually investing in the French listed companies in the stock market. So this whole continuum is what, yeah, actually here it is what makes, I say, Bpifrance's strength in France. And that's a model that we're actually working with other development banks and investment banks to replicate. We've done that in several countries, in different African countries. We've done it on certain specific tools with HGB. And so, yeah, that's the peculiarity. That's what we're trying to do. And then this is a lot of capital, 72 billions, deployed in France only. But it doesn't mean that Bpifrance doesn't do anything outside of France. The only specificity is that it doesn't invest directly outside of France. But we do have European and international teams, first all over the world, but also teams dedicated to working with the EIB. We mentioned the EIB, working with them on developing new financial tools, an advisory team for helping other banks developing their own I'd say, ecosystem boosting tools to working with sovereign funds, to connecting stakeholders like we do. And that's the reason we're here, is because for us it's really important to have local partners in every, I'd say, other market outside of France, sorry. And so, yeah, I don't know if I said enough on our cooperation here.
Yes, I was wondering if you could perhaps elaborate if the BPI has collaboration with France 2030. Perhaps elaborate on that.
It does. Also, for anyone that wouldn't be aware, France 2030 is a big investment plan by the government to promote I would say, industrialization of France, to creating new factories, to have companies manufacturing within France. And so, of course, we're a big part of this because we are the one, I'd say, doing the back office of delivering the loans and promoting the program. We're also working with French Tech, which is another governmental initiative that we've seen yesterday. That is also something we're collaborating on because, once again, our value added is being part of all of the different programs, so that if you're trying to create a company in France, whether it's a subsidiary for having a factory or whether it's right out of school, you don't have to look which agency is in charge of what. You can just come to Bpifrance and we'll pretty much send you back to the right person.
Perfect. Thank you. So now I was thinking that we could speak a bit more about the French, what the French government does. I mean, the Ministry for Higher Education and Research and Space, as well as the ministry I am part of, which is the Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs. Perhaps the goal is also to resituate the forum within that idea of public financing and what we could do in terms of public-private financing. So in France, as you may know, there is the ANR, the Agence Nationale pour la Recherche, who does a lot of financing, projects in French, but also international projects. So we are trying, and I think an idea would be to increase the collaboration between French and Greek sort of research teams in ANR projects. This could be a nice thing to promote. It's already happening, but it could happen more. We have things like international labs that could be created. The person from CNRS yesterday talked about it and about the initiative that could be sort of undertaken given the fact that there are some public financing to create such initiatives. And there is a range of, let's say, financing opportunities of research. Basically, France is financing directly the research centers, but there's also financing research through a variety of programs. Yes.
Yeah, also I do have two examples that I could add to that on what we do to combine public efforts and private funding. You said it, we work with HGP, we help them presenting the companies to private investors, so we had them pitch. We reached out to our network, which is composed of private investors, so that they could support companies that have previously been supported by HGP and by us then. We also have this initiative that is called the European Defence Alliance, where, of course, we are a part of it and we're giving, I'd say, most of the effort for now. But we have companies and we have sponsors being, for instance, Safran, Thales, the primes in France. We're working on ELIDEK in this Defence Alliance. So here again, it is a very European thing. It is coming from a public institution, but it gets private fundings, whether it's from the investors that are part of it or whether it's from big corporates.
HFRI also supports and investigates such collaboration. We collaborated with ERC like having partially funded from each side projects that were graded A in ERC calls, but were not funded after all. So we had the chance to, and also with the States, the United States, having a cross-border collaboration about the humanities, focused thematically, but overall we are looking. I am looking. I had since before Christmas, like around November, since my application and my election, there was a lot of time, and it was my hobby to think about also ANR, planning to visit there, and hopefully we talked about putting us in contact, and looking for opportunities to also expand the scope of HFRI and also the research community, the Greek research community as a whole.
Exactly. And so apart from, let's say, what France does to support research, I mean, let's say research in France and in link with foreign countries, including Greece, I wanted to perhaps also focus on what the French embassy does, because we have a range of programs. So I always talk about the whole spectrum of financing research, because research, of course, starts also at the master's level, because you have master's students who do the first research, then they do their PhD, then they do their postdocs, then they go in research teams. And what we have at the French embassy, and it exists in other countries, but we have a partnership with IKI, the Foundation for the Hellenic Foundation for State Scholarship, and so we found masters for research in that domain. We're able also to finance what we call high-level scientific stays. So 1 to 4 months, we can finance Greek researchers to go to France. And we have something that is called PHC Aristote, which is basically funding mobility of Greek and French research teams between the two countries. And the idea, of course, is to continue this funding across the whole spectrum, perhaps find a way to also finance doctoral level people. This could perhaps be done through companies. We have in France a nice sort of way to fund PhD thesis, so what we call CIFRE. So they can do their PhD in companies and being sort of paid by companies to do their PhD. So I think it's quite nice, and this is something that we could work on. And if I should say, also the PHC Aristote, which is funding the mobility between existing cooperation, is now publicly financed, but could also be co-financed by companies and the state for innovative. Let's say if we found collaboration of French and Greek research team that could have strategic or dual research sort of collaboration, this could be interesting to finance for companies, because this would allow to finance more mobility and more circulation of talents in the domain of innovation. So I think this is something that we could work on, and probably with ELIDEK and Bpifrance.
We also have the same, we call them industrial PhDs, βιομηχανικά διδακτορικά. It's a recent measure. Also, we have a tax reduction for research activities for the industry. HFRI is not directly involved with industries, but we're looking to support the innovation. And regarding the interaction between different countries, there also EU is funding the widening framework in terms of enhancing collaboration from bigger and more efficient countries to weaker. Greece is weak in this term, but we are working on getting her strong.
No, I think we are much more focused on innovation rather than research, but we do have teams that work directly with the technology transfer offices within Bpifrance. And what these teams are doing is that they stop looking only at France and they're looking more and more at collaborating with other TTOs in other countries, because they realize, and I think Bpifrance realized that what we're doing is very good, but it could be even more powerful if we can do it on the European scale. And so that is a very public now opinion and momentum to reach out to other countries and to other institutions doing similar things, so that we can duplicate what we're doing and just do it 27 times more.
So perhaps moving also from, let's say, what we do nationally to the European aspect, I wanted perhaps to state a few goals that we have as France on the European stage. As you perhaps know, there are ongoing negotiations for the multi-annual framework for 2028 and 2034, especially around the competitivity fund, which will bring a lot of money to the table. In France, we believe that basically funding should contribute to large infrastructures, research infrastructures. So that's something that we are working on. There will be a lot of opportunities. So I think it's important to see that actually Greece and France are going to work together, I think, in that aspect, in the idea of seeing what we can do with this competitivity fund. The negotiations are ongoing, and I think we have a close position and are trying to discuss on how to really impose that, create, and that's what also the Secretary General for Research and Innovation was saying, and also the Deputy Minister. We have this Franco-Hellenic action plan for the increasing of cooperation in the domain of higher education and research, and basically with the idea of creating Franco-Hellenic core for European projects. So how basically French and Greek research team can work together, constitute the first embryo of a project, and then go towards other European partners to submit Horizon Europe project or EDF project. And I wanted to know perhaps the kind of things that you could do in that regard.
Yeah, like seed funding or POC, proof of concept, etc. Yes, these are in my thoughts and eager to realize them, to implement them. But this is a big debate about how the research funding in a European level has been adapting, and HFRI has mainly funded basic research, blue sky research, open research, and I think that given the EU framework and the EU policy on striving towards competitiveness and innovation, I think both countries, Greece at least, should adapt and investigate within this framework how to enhance this collaboration with France. Ideas like seed funding and preparing something like because the European funding has been really getting too competitive but we've been really successful. The Greek research community, especially its research center, Angelos Bekiaris was here from Eketa, Athinaite, Fourth, etc. They're really successful given our size. But I think we should support and enhance the possibilities of getting more funding and having a win-win, like Greece, France, and EU finally. framework defined.
And then maybe quickly, so Bpifrance shares with the Ministry of Research the task of having these national contact points for Horizon. And because of that, and because we here to support entrepreneurship, we also have a team which role is to find partners for anyone that would want to apply to these Horizon projects. So if you're a researcher or if you're a research entity, you want to find partners and you don't want to do this by yourself, you can reach out to Bpifrance and it can find partners for you and with you. And so, of course, the more we're having these kind of events and the closer the collaboration is, the more we can work together, just because by knowing the different stakeholders, you can recommend them more easily. So I think for us, the way we can work towards more joint research with Greece would be through this office that is recommending partners, so that including other European countries, at least France and Greece could think about each other as like first partners when applying to these Horizon projects.
Perfect. I was thinking that perhaps we can have also questions from the audience. If you have some questions, I will give you the mic.
Some of the areas that are doing some of the leading research, or if there's certain trends that you're seeing and who's applying for funds and the success of those initiatives. If there's any, whether it's agriculture, it's technology, and different aspects.
Thank you. You know, HFRI is organized in 9 scientific fields coming from the ERC, and it's horizontal, so all thematic areas are being represented, and the scientific council has 9 members, so it's a one-to-one relationship. But it's true, but that the funding needs of each research field and research domain are really different, and since its establishment, I feel that it has addressed them uniformly. And this we should look into that, meaning that the humanities and classical studies have different needs from tech-oriented or computing domains. So very different needs and very different fields in how to grow, and paths of researchers, entities, spin-offs, how they grow within this field is really different, and we should address this, and I'm planning to. Thank you.
And also wondering, with this very exciting position that you're in, to be providing funding and whatnot, do you sometimes facilitate new partnerships from people that are applying for the funds that you go, oh, you and you and you might want to consider working together?
Yes, kind of, not yet, but I'm also planning to. Regarding the exciting part, these 2 weeks have been many signatures and many administrative stuff, so I'm holding back on the enthusiasm. But planning to, meaning that not for each proposal we get, but for planning to have like a discovery of the research field of each entity, and when where they would like to focus, and having more thematic, more focused calls on different, having invited the institutions, not separate researchers. It's really it could the graph would get really big then. But having focused calls, thematic calls, and not only depending on the directives each institution wants to to support, but also on the needs, either they're national or thematic, etc., or regional, etc. So yes, planning to. Thank you.
First of all, congratulations for your starting period. I think that one of the problems that financing from ELIDEK is that there are no strict deadlines for getting the results, and sometimes people that you expect that they work with you, they are leaving because they are finding positions as well. And a bad question is how the European Union manages to have the results on given deadlines. And another bad question is how a project that was past the scores for financing in European Union on an horizon finds itself in ELIDEK very low. Just the questions, because it's not my personal experience, it's from the community.
I really know. We asked the community. As I told you, I'm a professor at the University of the... So I've been so far an applicant for ELIDEK. So I know firsthand on how this works and how this hurts. And as part of the... as a member of the General Assembly, we had the past year or so, we had assemblies all over Greece. And we had like meetings like this where we heard many of these issues that you mentioned. So yes, optimizing the evaluation process, also in terms of speed and transparency and accuracy. We're redesigning the evaluation guide for the institution. So yes, we're planning to address this because it's been too long. And also regarding monitoring, we are currently closing our RRF fund, and these 2 weeks have been a nightmare. Apart from the signature, there's also the RRF. So much of the work is an admin, but planning to address the evaluation, both in terms of speed and in terms of transparency and the quality of reviews. Regarding the second aspect, like having a horizon funded and not funded in ELIDEK, I think it's mostly, Yannis Emiris, I think, was part of the scientific council, and we talked about this many times, and it's the percentages, like not enough money for this, and of course the evaluation quality, meaning that we have to optimize the quality in order to get better results. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's a more down-to-earth question. I guess it's mostly for Matthieu. I know that the ANR funds has a lot of bilateral projects between countries like France and Germany. Is it possible to create a Franco-Hellenic sort of scheme, and because it doesn't exist at the moment? And I guess at the moment, what is the best way to include a Greek partner in an ANR project?
So about the possibility to create a French-Greek ANR fund, so that's
working on that.
Yes, I guess we need to work on that, and I think, as I said, even if it's not directly mentioned in the action plan that we signed, I think this could be something that that would be to be discussed, because actually Greece is such an important partner, and we have already huge collaborations between France and Greece. So if we want to be, let's say, if we want to act on it, this is something that we should try and work on, see the possibilities. As you know, it's always difficult to find funds. I mean, the funds are restricted, and so we have to either, convince that this should be done, or find ways to fund it in some other way. But I definitely think this should be done. I believe the best way to include Greek teams is there are some international calls, but I think the problem is then you fall in the realm of sort of a more global, more competitive thing. So this is more difficult. I think the way to do it, and it's a bit the objective also of this forum and let's say the action plan, is to make those the existing collaborations visible. We have to make sure that we show authorities, companies, everybody, the quality of collaborations between France and Greece, their critical nature, the fact that the high level of trust between our two countries justifies actually a step further. This is a bit also the objective of this forum, and I will talk later about that if this is confirmed, but as an objective of the forum would be to stimulate projects between France and Greece to compete at the European level, as I was saying, Horizon Europe and EDF. The objective is to have people meet within this forum and generate ideas that can create those projects. And if we show the very critical nature of those collaborations in key domains like AI, quantum, I don't know, but there's so many domains, superconductors, and domains like the spatial, where Greece is also performing very well. I think that there will be a sort of an impetus to actually increase the funding, increase the strategic nature of the priorities for both our governments and move towards that. So I think we have to make it visible. And I think, I have been here for 1 year and 3 months, and I see... yes, yeah, I'm older than you. Well, no, because you have been 2 years in ELIDEK. But I think there are so many collaborations, and so few of them are actually very visible, communicated. And I think we need to make this extra step. And I've tried to do it, but imperfectly. For example, to federate the PHC in a network, making maybe conferences. Maybe we can do this in partnership with each other. Showing, for example, we have funded since the restart of the PHC 20 projects, high-level collaboration between France and Greece. We need to make those visible, show that there is an actual intense activity. When I published the call for proposal, I could only fund 10 projects, but 60 projects sort of applied, which is a testimony to the very dynamic nature of the collaboration. So it deserves more visibility, and we need to find ways to communicate. And it's also communicate to the wider public, show the French and Greek societies that our researchers are collaborating in projects that are actually very useful to society. And I think this is the impact to society is something that we must work on.
Yes, there are instances of bilateral collaborations like Greece-Germany, Greece-Israel, etc. So we've done it before, and hopefully, and we'll be happy to facilitate such a scheme. But the point is that communities should know each other. So BPI, HFRI, through this repository of results and organizing the knowledge that comes out of either proposed or implemented projects should be there in order to match the two parties. So this is one point, and the other perhaps it's that we shouldn't be perhaps we should think about having a more thematic collaboration. ELIDEK was celebrating 2 years last week, and it was evident that they're also supporting bilateral collaboration. I don't know if it's institutional or ad hoc, but it's clear that it's there, and we should integrate it, support it, be involved in some sense. So also thematic. Thank you.
Perfect. And there is a last question here.
Thank you very much, dear Matthieu, Antoine, and George. Very interesting, and I agree very much on the value of the collaboration between France and Greece. However, I think that this would not only stay between the or among institutions of higher education, but it should involve also companies in order to go towards the innovation also that is left a little bit behind. And I think from every project we should opt to obtain some high TRL result in order to make it visible through the project that is presented and is supported, and it's supplied to the society through the companies that support that. Thank you.
My thoughts exactly. In this honeymoon period I had since my application and before my election, have been thinking about that, and ended up copying, I think it's Germany's approach. It's industry reverse, so industry defining the problem and the research community addressing it, either in collaboration or whatever. And also the other aspect of the exploiting or supporting the advancement of results that have been already funded. I call it the ecosystem, the research results ecosystem, which is also a repository of results, and also a mechanism to connect entities, either purely research or research and industry, or something in between, like spin-offs, etc. So exactly to the point of my thoughts and my goal. Let's see. Thank you.
And yeah, same. I can only agree on this because that's what we're trying to do. Trying to have diverse teams, not stay in one country once they incorporated, when they have a product and they're trying to get a company started. Usually what you see is like research projects that involve people from everywhere. Sorry. Then they stay stuck into the national ecosystem and the national funding schemes. So what we're trying to do is the European kind of momentum that I was talking about is having events, having programs where we consider companies from a bit everywhere and we promote opportunities, whether it's investment from the investors we know, whether it's program to companies from everywhere.
And a closing word to say that this is basically the objective, I guess, of this forum as well, as sort of, bring the companies in earlier and motivate the researchers to move up, let's say, the TRL chain and sort of go towards use cases and so on, and be sure that we can have actionable thing at the end. So and I know that you are working as well in that spirit. So I think with that we can conclude. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was interesting to you, and we start again at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthieu.